Good evening. I'm Rick Dancer. It is Friday night for a little bit after 4 o'clock, and I've decided to have my own protest. Yep, seems like everybody else is having a protest, and I'm not going to do a riot. I don't have the energy for it, and plus, I don't have anything. I don't really have anything dangerous to throw, or any reason to throw anything, so I can't really do that. Plus, one of the problems for me is that I'm really anti-vandalism. I don't know why. It's just how I am. I've always been like that. When I was a news guy, I had to cover graffiti stuff. Drove me crazy because I hate when people damage other people's property and expect them to pick up the pieces. Doesn't make sense to me. So I can't do any vandalism. So I've decided, and I know it's really popular to say I'm going to do a peaceful protest and and all that. Um, but I've decided, so I'm just going to do my protest, my own protest. But here's my thought today. I was watching some different videos today and listening and wondering about different things. And so one of the best ways that people can divide people, that entities, let's see, without getting, I don't want to put any spin on this. So if somebody wants to cause a problem, a fracture amongst people, the best way to do that is to divide them. So the best way to do that is create hatred. So you create and exacerbate hatred among groups, different groups of people. And then if you can get them to divide and start drawing big, deep lines and huge divisions in the middle, you seduce the masses, and then you create a problem. Not that there's not a problem with, that there's a small problem or something going on that needs to be taken care of, but you exacerbate it. And I think that's what's going on right now in our country with COVID, and the protest, the riots in Portland. What is even the reason for that anymore? I don't. I heard a police officer today, one of the federal agents, talking, and I was going, God, it's just, there's so much different information out there. I think we're all just confused. And then what ends up happening is it wants to force you to choose a side. And then all that does is get us off track from the real issue. So like with the riots in Portland, does anybody even know what that focus of that is anymore? Um, and the issue didn't go away. We still need to solve equality, but now it's become police and this and everything else, and now it's just destruction of property. And with the COVID, why the mask has become like, like it's more about masks than it is about COVID anymore. And so if you can get people to divide and go, I think masks are good, I think masks are bad. So I just wonder how, if we're not actually maybe closer than we think, and are we really as far apart as the media and those trying to control the message want us to feel like we're apart? I kind of don't think so. I think there's too much common ground. So Anthony, you're saying that the riots are now about police reform. Okay, so what happened to Black Lives Matters? What happened to having all of us get involved in trying to solve that issue? And I know they would say the two are connected, which everything is somewhat connected. But what I think I think it's just about violence. And to me, that's all I see. I don't even, I have no, I watch, I listen, I just see very angry people. And I think if we're going to solve this problem, I know some people think we need to tear everything down and start over again. Well, it probably isn't going to work that way. But if you want to get people into your message, and so all of us can understand what's going on, so we can find something to common ground, so we can go in and do, if it's police reform, if it's also bringing Black members of our community together, then and so that white people like myself can better understand and get involved in the process of that. But instead what we end up with is screaming, yelling, name calling. I have been called people are just, some guy came on today and said, I'm so irrelevant. I'm trying to stay relevant. This is what I do for a living, dumbass. I've never been relevant. When I was in the news business, I was never relevant. I'm not striving to stay relevant. I care. But see, the best way to disqualify people is to question their motives and then belittle them. And that doesn't bring anything together at all. Hi, Lynn. How are you? Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure this all out. I just think, so what I'm going to do, name calling is really stupid. And it doesn't, what does it do? It's just judgmental. It doesn't do anything. It's so funny to me. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. We're saying, we try to teach our kids not to bully, and then we bully. All our kids have to do is go online and see how adults treat each other, and then they got a great example of what they want to do. So here's my little protest that I'm going to do. This morning, and some of you aren't going to like this, and that's just too bad. So this morning I was in the Pearl Bakery Coffee, and I saw two police officers, Eugene police officers, standing there. And I saw a woman the other day who's a police officer, who's a friend of mine. I did the same thing. I walked out of the line, went over, walked up to him, and I said, I really want to thank you for what you do. And they, behind their masks, they just looked stunned. And they said, thank you, Rick. I said, you're welcome. That's how I'm going to protest. I'm going to try to support people in my community, businesses in my community. I had somebody write me yesterday and say they don't like having their temperature taken when they go to the gym. I understand that. But the gym is being ordered to do that by the governor and the health department. So don't take it out on the gym. They're trying to stay afloat. And so don't take it out of them. If you want to be mad at somebody, you could be mad at the governor and the health department for coming up with the regulation. I struggle with this idea. How is a world pandemic related to our election? This is all across the globe, not just here. From what I read, we only have a country makes. So how does it factor into the election? Deborah, I think I don't have the answer for that, but go to people's pages that are writing that and find out why they're thinking that. Or maybe go have a conversation with one of them and ask that question. Because here's the thing, we're not being told everything going on. I'm not saying it's a big conspiracy, but there's so much going on. I think you're spot on. The people pushing this agenda, they're trying to divide. They are. This is how you divide a country. So you make the people who may not see your issue the same way, the bad people, and then you can divide, and then they won't let you come together and have a conversation. Or they belittle each other, and then you don't have to have a conversation. Society go beyond a race. We all need to be heard and listen here to one another. Right, all of us. But I would say, just in my world, I'm not speaking for Black Lives Matter. I don't know much about that. There's so much money behind that group, and I don't know what they really do. But the people that I met here in Eugene who are fighting for Black rights, for Black equality, I totally support that. As long as we're not beating people up. And Isaiah and people that I met, they weren't. So as long as it's peaceful, I'm going to hear it. As soon as it starts getting so it's destroying people's property and agitating people, not to the point, I think, I understand agitating to get people to listen. Blocking freeways, I don't care. I understand. That gets people's attention. But when you start destroying people's property, ripping up private people's cars, damaging downtown Portland, setting things on fire, I don't hear much anymore. All I see is anger, and some do not know why. Raising a problem with a solution seems to be a lost art. Oh, Corey, thank you so much. I'm not saying some sort of police reform does not need to happen, but what does that mean? I love you, man. That is perfect. I couldn't think of how to answer that, Anthony's question, but that's the whole thing. We throw out phrases, and Anthony, that's not a hit on you, man. I love you. You're a good guy. We just need to be able to talk like this. Don't let people divide us. with their comments and their things. I mean, that's the whole point. Um, yeah, what I had a boss once, and he was so great because people in a newsroom, they bitch a lot. They're just bitchers, and we were just, there's always a problem with everything because we're used to looking for problems. So I remember him one time. Somebody walked into his office and said, so and so isn't doing this and blah 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 blah, and he says, "What's your solution?" And the person said, "Well, I don't know. That's why I came to you." He goes, "Don't come back in here until complaining about anything until you have a solution." Um, the question was for someone who said that. I was asking a specific, but Deborah, maybe a better way to do that, and I'm not saying you're wrong at all, but maybe find whoever it was that said it, and then go personally message them and ask, "What are you talking about?" Start a conversation so you're building a relationship so you can then have that conversation rather than doing it out here. Because I don't think there's so many hotbed issues that people. It's like when I'm sitting here thinking, I'm going, how are people going to twist this into something that I didn't say? And it's so it's. I mean, you don't even see my personal messages. You guys see some of what happens on here, and it's the craziest thing. Have you watched any of the baseball games? So much going on there. BLM stuff on the field. Can it just be about baseball? Not anymore, Dana. Everything's got to be political right now, and that's what I mean. It's just, it's follow the money and the bloodlines. Knowledge is power. I tried asking Facebook friends a simple yes or no question earlier today in regards to masks. Would you vote to make mask laws like seatbelts, ending up having to delete the thread? Because Jeremy, you don't know how many times I write a thread and I'll wake up in the morning and look at what people have done to it. And I'm just like, fuck it. And I pull it. Sometimes I don't. I leave them up because sometimes I think people do that to try to get you to pull it. I know I'm a suspicious guy. People on both sides of the extreme of the problem. That said, this virus is real. It is bad. And people are in fact dying. Everything else about this is smoke and mirrors to distract. I agree, Thomas. But what we need, here's my problem with the way we're responding now. We need to get the people who are most in danger, the elderly. That's where most of the deaths are coming from. And most of those are in nursing homes or care facilities or retirement homes. Why the hell aren't we focusing on that? And this masks is, I mean, there's conflicting information. And I'm not trying to make it mask, no mask, but I'm saying that's where you put the money, is make those like hospitals so that you're not seeing outbreaks in hospitals. So if we could take that and do something like that, but instead we get all this, I don't think there's anybody that doesn't say, well, maybe there are. I agree with you. The virus is real. Who's it impacting? Those people need to be protected. But the major population is not being impacted by it. So my opinion is we need to continue to work to keep the economy going so we have the money to protect those people that are the most in danger. You don't shut down an entire economy and the world when you know who's being affected the most. So let's go protect those people. My God. Instead, just trying to lock everybody. It obviously didn't work. We locked everybody down. And what happens? The virus just sits there and goes, well, when they get back together, I'm going to go do my job. And that's exactly what it's doing. I also cannot get an answer to the question, how many of those people, all these increased cases, how many are asymptomatic? A lot, I bet. Because most of the people I'm talking to, that's what they're saying. And that's not to excuse it. It's just that, is it really making people, large percentages of people really sick? So if it's not, which they don't tell us, then we need to take that money and those efforts and put it into where it's killing people. And that's the people with all that, with heart disease and diabetes and those, they need to be the ones we're protecting. There needs to be the ones we quarantine. You need to quarantine people that are really super in danger. The rest of us, anyway, that's my opinion. I'm glad the mayor of Portland got gassed. Of course you are. You still haven't answered the question except for sending me down a rabbit hole. Deborah, it wasn't, are you asking me the question? What's your question to me? And don't be so angry. You and I we may be trying to communicate here, but I'm thinking somebody said something you wanted to know from them. They said it. I didn't say it. If you're asking me the question, then go ahead and ask me the question, and then I'll choose whether or not I'm going to answer it. I don't answer everything because people love to try to trap people. And I'm not saying that's what you're trying to do, but I got a lot of people that do that to me. So I'm hesitant. So if you are asking me a question, then re-ask it and let me see if I'll answer that. I always say solution is the goal. I agree. As long as we are divided, we can't reach a solution, find the common ground. Exactly, Mandy. And that's what somebody wants. The biggest advantage of extremism is that it makes you feel good because it provides you with enemies. Oh, Alicia, you're awesome. When you have enemies, you can pretend that all the badness in the whole world is in your enemies and all the goodness in the whole world is you. Huh. That's John. Oh, that's funny. One point for how people are acting right now, people need to stop acting like they are all good and anyone who disagrees with them is bad. Exactly. You're offended? Fuck off. You throw in the fuck it bucket. You throw it in the fuck it bucket. Today I went to this justice center. I listened. We are closer than we think. We need to set space to hear and listen. I agree, Betty. I think we do. I think we are. I just struggle when folks give quips of their perceptions and yet it's not followed with anything of any specifics. To me, that is leading and taunting. Deborah, the reason I don't get real specific is because people do, they nitpick and it turns into this little battle that way. So if that's, I've learned, I've been a politician, I've been a news anchor. I know what people do. So I'm careful. And I have to be because people are fucked up. And all they want to do is drag you into a hole to make themselves look better and try to make you look like an asshole. Well, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not saying that's what you're trying to do, but I don't have to answer everything I want to. And I can ask questions and not. And I know that pisses some people off, but that's the way the world's supposed to operate, is we can ask questions and make people think, get them to think outside of their comfort zone. But I don't have, only a fool tells all he knows. That's a Bible verse, and I live by it. Because when you give too much information in this world we live in, they will castrate you, they'll cut your dick off, they'll cut your head off, they'll do whatever they can to shut you up. And that's how I've lived that. And I see it every day on my page. My friend, 22-year-old son, was not asymptomatic. He was very ill, and he is otherwise a strong, strapping young man. Okay? But that's not the norm. At least I talked to 7 kids who were all involved in one, and not one of them had a symptom. One had no taste in their mouth. So that's what that's my experience of talking to people. So what I want to know is not yours and my experience. I want to know what the health department is finding out in terms of asymptomatic, not what you and I are experiencing, because you got your experience, I got mine, and they're probably both inaccurate. I want to know the facts. Not to you, Rick. Not to you what? This thing goes so fast, I'm sorry. Sometimes, my comments go slow, so you might be saying not to you as far back. So if you can put more in there, then I can understand better. What's going on, Rick? Oh, we're just having a protest. Answer my question. Anthony, protests are still about BLM. Protesters are looking for change in the system, police defunding, police reform, justice for those who have died by the hands of the brothers in blue. That shouldn't have. This is a tough subject to tackle, but if you look at other countries where crime is low, look at their police training. USA, you could become a police officer in 13 to 19. You're right, the voices get lost in the violence, the bad apples. Anthony, thank you for that explanation. I don't see it the same way. I don't know how you can defund police in this day and age. It wasn't directed at you. We communicate fine. Okay. All right, Deborah, good to know. I like your comments, and I like that you challenge people too. Anyway, Anthony, I think this is so far from, for me, because of the violence, I don't even hear Black Lives Matters anymore. I hear police are fuckers. I hear nasty, horrible talk about it, and I don't experience that. And I know that people will say because you're white and you're white privileged, but you know what? I don't think it's really easy to find these horrible people like what they did to Floyd. Oh my God, that's horrible. But that's not. There's some shitty people in every line of work, and that shouldn't taint every single person. That's my view. And see, even by me saying that, there's a bunch of people who are just going to discount it because I'm a white guy, and that's racist, in my opinion. People like me that have heart disease and severe COPD should not know how to protect themselves. That is what our doctors should be teaching us. I know a common cold can kill me, so I take precautions. This is my responsibility, don't you think? Lynn, how horrible that you're taking on the responsibility for yourself. I'm teasing. No, I love what you said. Yeah, they should be teaching us. Well, I'd go further than that, Lynn. The money we're wasting on all this, shit we're doing should be spent on helping people like you and others who are really to get you in a place where you can get the help that you need, whether that's daycare for your kids while you're isolated, whatever, paying you instead of giving everybody unemployment, shutting down the economy and getting everybody unemployment and an extra $600. That money should be going to people who are highly at risk to protect them, in my opinion. And how many are actually the flu and not COVID? Did the flu all of a sudden disappear? See, but Steve, here's the problem. Those kind of questions, they won't get anywhere because it's the same old arguments. What we need to do is start finding what we do agree on, okay? If that's taking it back to the basics, but if they're just going to keep separating us, we have to learn to keep our mouth shut about anything political. No, I disagree. I think I know what you're saying, Gloria, and I don't disagree with your thought that I think you're having. But I think part of the problem is we get tired of it. I get tired of it. I don't get my feelings hurt much anymore because I've been, bombarded with people. But when I read people saying you're just trying to stay relevant, then it's like, oh, I'd love to go scream to that guy. Well, you're an ageist. You're saying I'm irrelevant because I'm 61 years old. Fuck you. But what I get tired of it too. And there's days I don't even want to talk about this anymore. But you know what? There's so many people out there who feel voiceless. And there's so many people like Deborah and Anthony who I may not agree with completely on certain things. But there's this little thing in there that I see this, Anthony, I know better. We've spent time on personal phone calls, and I love this guy. So then that says to me, okay, there's something here that I need to pay attention to because he's seeing it differently than me. But see, if they conquer and divide us, then I'm just going to write Anthony off as an asshole, and he's not. So I listen to him. I can disagree with him. Then he and I can have a longer conversation. But we need to be talking about stuff, maybe not politics so much, but everybody makes everything politics. So the only common denominator is a fever, since they are saying you are safe if you don't have one. Confusing. I hadn't heard that. I love you, Rick, but you seem to be anti-masks, anti-Kate, who I think cares about people, anti-protests. All right, Jeremy. Okay, let me tell you what I am. Honestly, because you said it the way you did, and you've started a conversation. So here, I'll tell you the honest truth. Not like I lie, but I mean, sometimes I hedge because I have to, because people are assholes. Masks, I don't think they work. I've researched it. I think it's that they don't know what else to do. And here's this, so put it on the mask. And even below that, I love my freedom to do, to be able to make decisions, smart choices on my own. So I'm wearing my mask now, not because I think it works, but because it keeps businesses open. I don't think it keeps people safe. From what I've read, what I've heard from experts, not the CDC. I don't trust government. I don't trust authority. I don't trust politicians. I don't trust the news media. I trust my critical thinking skills and my ability to go as a reporter and go ask the hard questions, which you don't have right now. There's no reporters. They're going on with the narrative. What if it's not right? The person I talked to the other night, who's an expert in this field, live on our show, said we should be putting money into nursing home, the at-risk people. So to me, the mask is another cover. It's another feel good for everybody to make you feel like you're doing the right thing. Kate, I think I ran against Kate. I had no problem with her up until what's going on right now, and um, that it bothers me the way this is being handled. I think she's overreaching her power. It's about the people, and see, so it all goes back to this for me. I'm a rugged individualist. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like stupidity. And I don't like when if I can understand why I'm doing something and it makes sense to me, then I'm good with that. I can come around. This doesn't make sense to me. There's too many holes, too many unanswered questions. How many people are really getting sick? That kind of thing. Okay, so what's your other question? An anti-protest. I don't think protests work, but I'm not anti-protest. I'm anti-riot. I'm anti-vandalism. I'm anti-people damaging other people's property. Like when that Antifa was in Portland and even in Eugene, when they were jumping on people's cars and wrecking their cars, and I'm going, what if that was my car? Yeah, I have insurance, but I still have to pay the deductible. So your cost, your attitude and your actions are costing people money that have nothing to do with this. And then when you're destroying the federal courthouse in Portland, you and I are going to pay for that. So money that could be going to help the poor, to help widows, to help people who are hungry, to help on all these social issues that I do give a shit about, is being wasted because people are spray painting and angry and yelling and screaming and rioting. If you want to have a peaceful protest, I'm going to listen. The minute you start beating people up, doing damage to other people's property, I'm not listening anymore. So I don't think, maybe I am I'm not anti-mask because I'm doing it. But I think it's dumb and I don't think it works. And I have science, and I'm backing that on science, not just my opinion. But there's also a little thing inside of me that's going, this is bigger than that. Anti-Kate wasn't, I am anti-governor overreach. And I know too much about where the money comes from and how that all happens. So that's part of that whole thing. And anti-protest, not at all. Not at all. Anti-riots, 100%. So Jeremy, I hope that explains it to you. And I'll tell you, I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot in my life, but I have to go with my gut and what my information is telling me, and that's what I have to do. What's up, Rick? Hey, Jacob, how are you? I'm sorry I got on a little toddler there, or a little tant. Well, actually, I was just answering the question. Not in Oregon, you can't takes a degree in very competitive hiring process in Oregon. Other cities is different. I agree with why folks are out there, but many are out there just to be in a free-for-all violence vandalism. That is their cause, and it's taking away from legitimate folks. See, I agree with you, Corey. I agree 100%. Hi, Cindy. I can't pull that up right now, but I will look at it later on unless you want to tell me what it says. I am so tired of feeling like I shouldn't say my opinion about what's going on because it will start a fight. What happened to discussion and being okay? That stopped a long time ago. And that's why they divide us and conquer, and because they're trying to keep us from talking. But see, now we're having a conversation, and Jeremy was kind enough to ask in a way, and that doesn't mean he's going to like my answer, but at least we're having a conversation. Kate Brown does not care about Oregon. She cares about Portland. Barely. I question everything. I do too. Kate Brown cares about no one. I think Kate Brown probably cares about someone. That's right. Thanks for being real. I'm just trying to, I just want us to be in power, not and us. That's you. That's Jeremy, Anthony, me, Deborah, Lisa, Rita, Jacob. Have you ever experienced something like this in your life, specifically towards the division of escalation of pretty much everything in the country? Looking at the experience, personally, I think we are at a crazy and interesting time that goes whatever side of the issue people are on. Hey, Travis, I totally agree with you. I've never seen anything like this. And I was in the news business, and I've been around 61 years. And if you told me a few months ago that I would be doing this, I would never believe you. Never believe you. But you know what I also think? and I'm not just an optimist because I'm really not. I'm more of an idealist. I think we can come out of this, but we have to take back the conversation. And that means Jeremy, me, Anthony, Deborah, Jason, Lisa, all of us having this conversation. And then we have to do that horrible thing that politicians won't do and nobody will do, is compromise. So I don't win and you don't win, but we come up with something that makes sense. Okay, Jeremy, one other thing I would say about Kate Brown that bothers me and has from the very beginning of this whole reaction to COVID-19. On her task force, I've talked to people in the business community statewide, and they're not on that task force. This is strictly scientists and health officials. And while some may think capitalism is horrible, but it's paying your bills. And small business is the backbone of our country. And why isn't there people from the business community, experts on that task force? So this is not just about the science and the data, but also about how do we keep the economy going so that our homeless and our poor and regular families like you and me are not going broke at the same time. Because I asked an expert the other day, and leans more towards the left than this conversation. And I said, which is going to be worse? What happens with COVID or the economy? He goes, in the end, the economy. He says, because it's going to keep going on. The virus will end at some point or get dealt with. It'll run its course. What we're doing to the economy, it's not going to go away. How much do you think Kate Brown actually has control over? Or is she a puppet? Oh, I think she has control. I think she has control. Hi, Debbie. There's a protest in Eugene at the Federal Building this Saturday to stand in solidarity with Portland against federal occupation. They are asking to use diversity of tactics and no peace policing on their flyer, worried about what that means. I don't know. One idea, I guess you could just keep the cops away and let them do whatever they want to do, and then see how that goes over. I mean, honestly, if we don't want to really go in and say, okay, you can protest, but you cannot destroy our town. If we won't say that, I mean, have you noticed what happens in Springfield? When they protest in Springfield, business owners stand in front of their business with guns because they're just sending the message: we're fine with you talking and having your peace, but you're not going to trash my building because my life savings is in this building. And that's kind of how it works sometimes. You sound like me. I don't feel so alone. You aren't alone. That's what they want you to feel. They want to shut people like us up. And you know what? And there's people, I have just as many Democrat friends I know of that are angry with Kate Brown, that don't think this is all what they're saying it is and are tired of it. Why is asking to abolish qualified immunity asking too much? Did somebody say that, Cindy? I am with you 110%. I championed fair housing for 26 years. Someone shot out my Main Street facing windows with a pellet gun last weekend. How does that further the cause? I'll just leave it at that. Get everyone wearing a mask and get them transplanted in your brain. Don't believe Google and Bill Gates is spearheading this. Thank you for your common sense, Rick. It's a breath of fresh air. I am agreeing with you. Just for the record, Teresa, there's no such thing as common sense. There's sense, but there's no common sense. I think the real issue is there's not enough critical thinking skills. And it's too easy for the media to give us I've been at the gym and I look up and I'll see on the monitor. I finally turned off the fucking TV because all I saw was this stuff, and I went, oh my God, I'm walking out of the gym just depressed. And I'm going, well, no wonder I'm depressed. And then you get out here and it's not as bad. I just don't think, and I don't mean COVID, but I mean all the reaction to all of this. We could solve this. We could. You sit down and get black leaders and white leaders and Asian leaders, all people together, and sit down and say, how do we make this better? And I think you can. I'm not naive. I think you can. I think with COVID, you say, okay, let's protect the people who are most vulnerable. That's what you do. You don't lock away an entire population, especially when it's really most of the deaths are in that age group. Not all, but most. And you get those people safe to safety, and the rest of us keep this thing going. It's a fair response. Jeremy, thank you. I don't know you personally, but I love your attitude, and I wish there was more people like you. I could have a conversation with you all day, and several of you on here, because it's a conversation. And you want to know, you're asking. And you don't have to agree with me, but at least, if we're talking, Corey, I did not know that with Oregon. I do agree with you on the message of protesters, and I disagree with those inciting violence. Rick is right. The message gets lost in violence and destruction. I'm happy we can come together in conversation and jabbing each other's throats. I am too. I love this. This is just exactly what you want. The link was a diagram showing how defunding would work. The only thing police lose is a bigger workload, not money that pays stays, just other folks deal with. Kieran having a bad day, or Chad is off his meds. Yeah, okay. So Cindy, I think like what we do here in Eugene. I don't know if you're from Eugene, but we have Cahoots, and I've called them for friends several times. You call 911, and instead of sending police, you send people who are trained social workers out there who are trained to deal with people with mental difficulties. And the police shouldn't be doing that. They should be responding to the people that are beating the shit out of people and tearing up the thing. Another depression. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know what? And I'd hate to be, I think some people want that. I think they just want everything destroyed so we can start over. And it doesn't work like that. I think it's an individual city department hiring policy and not a state thing. In my area, Eugene, Springfield, all 3 departments require a minimum 2-year degree. I'm not saying nothing locally needs change. Everything can be open to change. You guys, this is so great. I mean, come on, this is awesome. Just for fun, can you share with us some of your conspiracy theories? Is it possible this is all a giant conspiracy? Anything is possible, Jacob. But the problem is I don't get into conspiracy theories, and that doesn't mean I don't think that there's something behind this that's really ugly. Because I think people, I have, how do I do this and be somewhat careful? I've lived my entire life in the public eye, and people use me all the time. They use me to discredit something, to screw up their message, to try to better their position. They come on my page and try to use it to get you guys' attention, so you'll pay attention to them. In the news business, everybody was nice to me because I was on TV. They thought I could get them something. I've spent a lot of my life like that. So it would not surprise me in the least that this is just an attempt to fuck with people. That would not surprise me at all. Not at all. Do I think COVID is serious and real? Yes, I do. Do I think people are using it to their advantage? I wouldn't bet money that they're not, because that's what people do. Do I think Black Lives Matter? Oh, God, yeah. Do I think that we've been treating Black people like shit for hundreds and hundreds of years? Yes. Do I think that they get pulled over when they shouldn't? Yes, because I have friends that tell me that. Do I think that their message is now lost because of the riots? Yes. Do I think somebody hijacked their campaign? Yes. Is that a conspiracy? I don't know. Is it the truth? I bet it is. But in the end, what's the result? It goes right back to what we started with. Divide us and they conquer us. We're not gonna explode. What they want is to implode us. They don't need to bring in any enemies. They don't have to bring in nuclear weapons. All they do is get us to hate each other. I have friends that I have been friends with for so long, And they are so nasty to me now because we're now supposed to hate each other. And that's the worst. I agree it's about compromise. We have to realize that we may not get everything we want, but if we can at least come together and find a solution. Here's a way, 90s millennial. Travis, you're awesome, man. Here's the thing. I don't know. Yeah, no, you know what? Travis, I'm gonna disagree with you just a teeny bit. I know what you're saying, but if we can at least come together and find a solution, we can get through this. That I agree with, and I think. But let's change the wording, not but. When we can come together and find a solution, we'll get through this. See what I mean? We have to start speaking in positive language that tells the truth, not leaves an open door. That's what the media wants. That's what the leaders want, is to keep us doubting. We will find a solution when we can come together. To be honest, it's difficult to have a conversation with my generation. I think it's difficult to have a conversation about this with some people in your generation because they have no hope. We've told them that you're stuck in a situation that you're stuck in. And I was born in a middle-class family, and, and my parents are always, you can better yourself. And the millennials I tend to end up around are the ones who are working to go, I want to save people. I want to help children. I want to be a teacher and do this. And, but we've culturally, we've taken away your hope. And so people this is why I love when people like you come on my page and Jacob, because you're young guys and you are my hope. And you didn't get burned in that message, and you may understand it some, but you are still my hope. L'America. Amen. Yeah, I love that. Dana. This is why I was all excited to have sports back on TV, but no, they ruin it too. I totally agree, Rick. Yeah. Why does everything have to be, here's kind of my stand on that. I don't have to prove anything to you. This is what I say. If you don't take it for what it is, I don't give a shit. I'm not here to prove that I'm a good person or I'm a bad person or I'm smart or anything. I'm just Rick Dancer, okay? And I have opinions. I'm not trying to be relevant. Oh my God. And those are it shows me people that don't even have any clue who I am. Rick, childcare providers are needing help to get some of our new rules amended. These are for home providers as well as centers. Would you be willing to do a segment on this? Childcare receives 29. Dana, yeah, totally. I would totally do that. I'm going to get out of that so I can see you. Yeah, Dana, if you would, rick@rickdancer.com is my email. And I have sponsors for shows, and they would be happy to sponsor that show. So get a hold of me. I would be more than happy to do that for you. For us. That's not for you. That's for us. Wish I could have turned in earlier. You can go back and watch the beginning. This is actually the best part. The beginning was kind of Bigfoot is real, and Jason is stoned. You had to say Cahoots, Rick. Cahoots has been overwhelmed for so long. We've called many, many times. They do not show. Actually, well, that's interesting, Linda. I have called them twice, and they have shown both times. Now, are they underfunded? Yes, and that's where we should put more money into that. But yeah, I've had really good luck with them. But they do if and when EPD shows they shoo off the mentally challenged to the next blog. Why is asking to abolish qualified immunity asking too much? I don't think it is it? Thank you, Rick, and everyone for conversation. I get beat up every day when I find something that goes against the norm. What we need is more conversation. Drink beer, compromise. I'm in Jonathan's camp. We need to have more beer, just but not too much, because then people get really nasty. They have put everyone in their house and took away the ability to get together, and they feed the majority of the thoughts that they want them to feed. Also, if you disagree with the media, people instantly try to act like you're crazy. Rob, I 100% agree with you. And that's what I'm talking about, divide and conquer. If they can separate us, keep us in our homes, get us frustrated, get us angry, get us agitated, and then go out there, yeah, it's part of the plan, I think. Jeremy Leopold cares about people. What people besides herself does she care about? Jeremy Leopold cares about people. What people besides herself does she care about? Evidence, please. Okay, be careful, Susan. Oh, you're just being ageist. Shut up, old man. Yeah, that's my new thing. I'm going to be offended because I'm old. Why don't the thousands of protesters fundraise? With the many people night after night, they could actually accomplish much. Where's the action? Yeah, the action. There's just a lot of reaction. There's not much action going on. That will clear the streets and open the way to change. Think, not jabber. I wish I was black. Come on, jeez. Definitely not a leader. She's a puppet. Look at the big dollar donors. She does have some big dollar donors. You're welcome, Dana. Yeah, when I ran for office, it was interesting. I'll give you and this is not so you think I hate. I didn't. We had a really good campaign. Um, um, we didn't trash each other at all. We had a moment. We had a phone call, and we asked each other. You want? I mean, I can tell you kind of a personal story if you want. We had a phone call early on, and she asked. She said we both need to be nice to each other in this campaign, and I said, well, yeah, I agree. She goes, why do you need to be nice to me? And I said, well, you're a woman, you're a sitting senator, and you're bisexual. And so those are all things that need to be paid attention to, that aren't supposed to be part of the campaign, and they never were. I said, but you have clout, and I need to respect and honor that, and honor our differences. And I said, why do you need to be nice to me? And she said, it's really cute. I mean, actually, it was kind of fun. She said, because everybody Salem and South in Oregon has grown up with Rick Dancer in their living room. And you're like the boy next door. And I have to be respectful of you or they'll eat me alive. So we had an honest conversation. And seriously, up until this, well, I do not agree with the way, I do not like her style of governing, because I think she does what she wants, like a lot of politicians do. Obama, Donald Trump. There's a lot of people that just, they make up their rules as they go. And they don't do what the people are asking. They do what their agenda is. And she's definitely got an agenda. And so but when we ran for Secretary of State against each other, it was completely fine. Choke your video. Hey, Jacob, I'll tell you one thing. I wish I had a successful online business and could just travel right now. Because running a franchise fitness studio right now, I feel like I'm a puppet, just waiting on the next mandate. See, and I think that's how a lot of people feel. What I miss most is human connection. No hugs, no touching. Best way to divide us. I'll hug you. I've been hugging. I'll wear the mask, but I'm not going to stop hugging. But I give people an option. I say, do you hug? And if they say no, I'm never offended. If they say yes, I go in for a deep one. Yeah, I do. Travis, my man, fair on the butt versus win. I completely agree with you. The wording is important. Now more than ever, we should change to a hopeful attitude. Oh God, Travis, you know what? You're going to be like one of my Jacobs. I got my Jacob on here. He's like one of my good guys, man. And Jeremy's going to be on that list too. I do see how millennials in this age feel, how they hope has been taken away from them. We can get through this, though. I appreciate you and your outlook, Rick. Thanks for being a badass. Well, thank you for being a badass because you're brave enough to say what you're saying. And I think you're 100% right. We need to give. How do we, instead of make fun of millennials, why don't we give them some hope? You know, put some. I don't know how to do that, but I'm willing to if a bunch of millennials would tell me how to do that. I could be part of a solution instead of a problem. Um, you know, um, I think what is great about being older is there's some wisdom that comes with that, and there also is some what would you call it? I honestly just don't care if people don't like me. You know, I mean, I don't want to be hated. It's not that, but it's just too important. It's too important um, that we get back together and come to some kind of terms where it's, you know, my information on masks is just as valuable and important as yours. Now, let me make the choice of what I'm going to do. And you know, as a society, if we said, you know, let's put people who are at risk in quarantine, let them quarantine themselves. Let's get these nursing homes and volatile places, at risk places, in a position that they could be in to take care of these people. And that's going to be really expensive, but it's really valuable because those old people should not be dying. But to blanket the entire world and say you all lock down, there's so many other ramifications that come along with that. And I think that's why we're seeing the angry riots. I think that's why we're seeing people yelling at each other, not willing to listen, you know, and I'm so sick of hearing people going, it's, you know, just don't be so selfish and just wear the mask. You're just being selfish. You know, well, my science says that it's not doing anything. And so the experts I'm talking to say probably people are putting themselves more at risk because you're touching your face more and more, and then you got all this shit on your, and then other people's shit in the air, and then you're putting it on and off and on and off and on and off. I mean, those are things you have to look at too. Maybe we're not right, maybe we're not wrong, but we know we should be taking care of those old people. I'm a millennial, and I still appreciate civil discourse. Alicia, you'll be part of our team. You're going to be with Jacob and Travis and Alicia are going to be our millennial Get Real with Rick Dancer followers that are going to help us understand how we can really do this. How do you and others feel about the restaurant requiring your phone number to seat you? I haven't seen that. Is that really a thing? I have never been asked. So I'm asking. Just wanted to say hi, Rick, and I take your army up there and fix this. Yeah. You know what? I think we're gonna, David. I honestly, I tell you guys, there's a lot of bad stuff going on, but I think there's a lot of good gonna happen. And using the same mask over and over cannot be good. No, I wash mine. I mean, I have to. You should have seen mine after the gym this morning. Oh, that's healthy. Unity is the crux of why people are in the streets abolishing qualified immunity. Is a start that will clear the streets and open the way to change. All right, Cindy. I just don't like the violence and tearing up, you know, my town. Portland was where I grew up, Hillsborough, Portland. And I don't think they're not getting, I'm not listening. I'll listen to Black Lives or the Black Unity folks all the time. If that's what we want. If we need to have changes in police, fine. But when you're going to go around and injure and cause problems like that and destroy, I won't be a part of it. Yes, my 3 and 5-year-old touches their face so much and they have masks on. It's hard to not adjust the mask. Oh my God, I can't even imagine putting a mask on a 5-year-old. When she said that, when the governor said that, I went, you don't have kids. I know you don't have kids, Kate. You can't. You would be happy to think, oh my God, a 5-year-old? Up until 3 months ago, OSHA was fining businesses for allowing employees to wear masks without very specific protocols. Why did we just throw out 30 plus years of science? I don't know. Abolish qualified immunity and they will stop. Or they compromise and listen to what we're talking about. That's what I mean, is you can't have this or that. What do we get to have a conversation about that? I don't, I'm not as educated on this as you are, Cindy, on qualified immunity. But I think from what, and I need to go in there and look up, because I heard somebody talking about this the other day. And and I'd be honest with you, I need to get cleared up on that. But you can't say, when you negotiate, you can't come in and say, you do this or I'm going to continue to destroy things, because you have to have a conversation about that. That's not how negotiation works. And I don't see them very willing to. They wouldn't even talk to Ted Wheeler. He was trying to talk to him, and he's totally supportive of what they're doing, and they weren't listening to him. Yes. Okay. Well, you guys, that was super freaking pleasant. Yes. And his name is Daryl. Thanks. That's a great way to start the weekend, isn't it? So I got lots of hope now. I think we can do this. I mean, I think if we change the way we're talking and we start making it I'm right, you're wrong. How about, here's my opinion, there's your opinion. I wonder if there's something in the middle here we could work out on. And let me tell you, culture's not going to go along with this, because culture wants to own the message and the media isn't going to listen. So turn off culture, turn off message, and start thinking for yourself. And then listen. God, listen to people. I mean, I'm going to go back to Jeremy. I don't even know if he's still here. But that guy, how did he phrase his question to get me to, and he wasn't trying to manipulate me. I'm not saying that. But he says, Rick, I love you, man, but you sound like you're anti-Kate, anti-this, and anti-this. Now, the way that an asshole would do that would say, you sound like you hate this person. Why do you hate Kate Brown? And blah, 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 blah. See, that's how we're talking to each other. Instead of going, dude, sometimes I think you have some really great comments, but right now I just think you're fucked up. And here's what I want to know. If we start talking to people like we were people, that might help. Qualified. Oh, now, okay, yeah. Legal doctrine to the United States federal law that shields government officials from being sued for discretionary actions performed within their official capacity. Now, I would love to have a conversation on this with somebody. I heard a cop and high-ranking cop talk about this and why it's even in existence. And there is, Cindy, some valid reasons in that position, in my opinion, from what I heard, which is why I would love to have you and them having a conversation that I could listen to and learn from both of you. Does that make sense? Because and now that you bring that up, I remember I heard this whole talk on that. That's why it sounded familiar to me, but thank you. But yeah, I would love to have you conversate, because then I could make an informed decision rather than just hearing him and you. Hearing you talk together could really help. Rick, you should put this on TV to reach a lot more people. Nobody watches TV. That's why I'm here. Oh my God. I used to have a TV show. All my clients came over to online. They all support me and sponsor me doing this stuff because nobody watches television. So now we don't see, and that's old school thought. Nobody watches TV. Nobody gives a shit. I think Governor Dancer sounds good. I think that sounds really awful. I'd never do that. I won't. I mean, I would love to go fuck up the whole system. Go in and just go, no, you know what? You're not going to act like a bunch of fucking babies. You're going to get along and we're going to talk. We're going to have a conversation. That would be my best day. But I enjoy my life and I don't want to live. Can you imagine living in that? I did it for 9 months running against Kate, and it was just pure hell. I don't watch TV. I don't either, Aaron. I watch Netflix. Um, I would never do it. No, no. But I do appreciate, Stacy. That's a very kind thing, and I'm not trying to, blast your idea here. But oh my God, guys, seriously, that was the hardest 9 months of my life, harder than cancer. Um, just because every day I'd get up and see what the media was writing about me in the paper, and you'd be going, "That's not what I said." Shot callers when they start getting mean. I told my wife one time, if I'd won, I would have been assassinated by now. And I'm not kidding, or killed myself. Who wants to be under a microscope like that? Right. My life already feels like I'm sort of under this slight microscope. And to be that, I wouldn't want to be that at all. But I would love to get in a room with legislators and stuff and say, act like adults now, and that would be the fun part. And just in your mind, go, all I want to do is serve 4 years so I can be an asshole for 4 years, like be myself, and go in and say, no, you're going to make, that's what Hatfield and Tom McCall, those guys used to go in and they had enough clout. They push people to make a decision. You're going to sit in here and talk until you come up with a decision, a compromise, and they make them do it. But nobody does that anymore. Yeah, it's a thankless job. And the other thing, Aaron, that people did was, what are you going to do for me? And I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was going to be Secretary of State for all of Oregon. That meant Democrats, Independents, Green Party, all the non-affiliates like me. I thought that was my job. So now it's, what am I going to do for you? Screw you. And it showed me. Plus, you know what else they do that really pissed me off? Is I'd go to a donor who was, a donor for the Republican Party, because I was a Republican at the time when I ran, and they'd give me $5,000, and then they'd turn around and give Kate $5,000. Or one of her donors that would give her $5,000 would give me $5,000, or whatever it was, just to hedge their bets. They didn't believe in you. Either one of us. They just wanted to go, well, if he wins, I want to make sure I paid him. And if she wins, I want to make sure I paid her. I was stunned. Okay, and I'll tell you one more thing. The second thing I was most shocked about, and I was a news guy before that, I had no idea. So, when you read in the paper, if you still get the paper, which I don't, but back in the day, they have the editorials, and you see all these editorials for Rick Dancer or Kate Brown or whatever it was. You know what I mean? You see editorials. They didn't write, those people didn't write them. No. So they came to me and said, Rick, we're going to have, we're writing up some statements, and we're going to find people to make those their statements and send them to the Register Guard and put them in the paper. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They said, for the editorial page, the letters to the editor. I said, so you make them up? So you write a thing about me, and then you get Janet or Aaron Eli to put her name on it when she didn't really even say that? They go, yeah, that's how you do it. And I go, I'm not doing that. You don't know. If somebody doesn't have anything nice to say about me, then I'm not going to, it's like, I'm not going to get something, here, say this. And then people, they all looked at me like in the, the political world, they all go, God, you're naive. And I thought, I didn't know they did that. And I never did that. I didn't do anything I didn't do anything that I would ever regret, at all. Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, you guys, I'm going to call this quits because I'm going to go have a beer with my wife. And, so I will talk to you next week. We're going to do the Redmond contest next week for PNOW backstories. So somebody's going to win a trip to Redmond when it gets better, not now, when travel gets better. But we're going to show you all the fun things you can do while you're over there. And so that's coming up all next week. And I got some really fun stories, really cool places and restaurants and hotels and stuff like that you can look at. And again, this is for later because we don't want to promote travel now. We want to promote travel when it's good. All right. See you guys later. Have a good weekend. Go out there and be positive, and don't draw lines between people. Erase them. Wow, that's profound.